Okay, everyone able to see the slideshow?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. Okay, so the second half of the first chapter of Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Quick review. Liberal nature of the Brahmanas. I think you've all got that. Duryodhana's diplomacy. Now, if you look at text number 8 in the first chapter, who's speaking? Yes?
Duryodhana.
Right? Duryodhana speaking, right? And he's addressing his assembled warriors, the great fighters, and he says, there are personalities like you. Who is that you?
Dronacharya.
Right. So, Drona's name comes first. He says Drona before Bhishma. That's his diplomacy. Why does he say Drona first? Because Drona's the Brahman. And the Brahmins are given respect before the Kshatriyas. Even though Bhishma is senior in other ways, but Drona is the Brahman. So he respects him before he respects Bhishma. Of course, Kripa's also there. Kripa's also Brahman. But anyway, he gave more respect to Drona. That was his diplomacy. We spoke about Prabhupada's statement about violence and Vaishnavas. Important how to understand these things when Prabhupada mentions them. Don't be fanatics. So the overview of the first chapter, you have this in your teaching material in the student handbook. Right? 5 sections. Dhritarashtra's doubt, Duryodhana's diplomacy, and then the signs of victory for the Pandavas. Right? What were the signs of victory again? Someone? The Kurukshetra, yeah, because it's Kurukshetra, it's the Dharma Kshetra, so that's a good help for the Pandavas, who are more inclined.
My presence.
Yes? What?
The presence of Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune, Krishna, was on the side of the Pandavas.
Okay, presence of the goddess of fortune through Krishna.
The chariot given by Agni.
Sorry?
The chariot given by Agni Dev to Arjuna, and the presence of Hanuman is a chariot on the flag.
Okay, Hanuman on the flag, an indestructible chariot given by Agni. Something else?
The Divya Sankam, the conch shell.
Okay, the conch shells, the blowing of the conch shell shatters the hearts of the Kauravas.
Aparyaptam and Paryaptam.
Aparyaptam and Paryaptam. Yes, you want to explain more?
Since Krishna was on the side of Pandava, the victory is Paryap. And since Krishna was not on the side of the Kauravas, the victory is Aparyap. I mean, they cannot achieve the victory, and over here they can achieve the victory.
Okay, thank you. And then Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala.
Krishna, Achyuta.
Krishna is Achyuta, but he's controlled by the pure love of the devotion of Arjuna. And therefore he takes orders or instructions from Arjuna. And then Arjuna's 4 reasons for not fighting. We're going to look at that today. The 4 reasons for not fighting. discussed in the first chapter. Okay, going ahead, Rishikesha, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is Rishikesha. He's the Rishikesha means what? Rishikesh means
Lord of senses. Master of senses.
The Lord, or master of the senses, right? We say Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. We should use our senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses, Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is addressed in this way in the 24th verse of the first chapter. And then Lord Krishna is also addressed as Gudakesh. So he's both Rishikesh and Gudakesh. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesh. I'm saying Krishna's addressed. Arjuna's Gudakesh. Krishna's Rishikesh and Arjuna's Gudakesh. Gudakesh means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesh. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes. Thus a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. Right? Who are the examples of this? Who conquers sleeping?
Arjuna.
Arjuna, yes. Mariji, you got to do something about your mic, Mariji. Somebody else tell me.
The six Goswamis.
The six Goswamis, okay. The six Goswamis are described in the Goswami Astikam.
Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
What?
Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Okay. He was very... Bhakti Vinod Thakur was... You know, I'm still trying to comment on the six Goswamis. Can you just give me 1 minute, please?
Yes, Maharaj. Sorry.
The six Goswamis, they conquered over eating and sleeping because they were always remembering Krishna, they were always engaged in chanting the holy name and glorifying Krishna. And so they were not servants of their senses. Prabhupada gave the title Goswami to Satsvarupa and Hridayananda Maharajis in Los Angeles. I think it was in 1972, maybe 73, and he gave them the title Goswami. And so they asked him, what does it mean, Goswami? So Srila Prabhupada told them, you study this song Goswami Astikam. He said, that will tell you what it means to be Goswami. So in the Goswami Astikam, which is written by Srinivasacharya, he describes there, Nidrahara Vihara Kadi Jivito Chaitanya Divyochano. Right? That they conquered over Nidra and Ahara. They conquered over sleeping and eating. Prabhupada also said, he said, when I was a young man, I conquered over mating and defending. And he said, now in my old age, I have also conquered, given up eating and sleeping. That was it, was given up. Wasn't just conquered, but he said, I gave up mating and defending as a young man. He said, now in my old age, I have also given up eating and sleeping. And so here in the Bhagavad Gita, we have Arjuna, who also conquered over sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. Prabhupada would often chastise us for sleeping too much. He said, sleep is like ignorance. And if you were sitting in class and you had your eyes closed, then Prabhupada may say, "You're sleeping, wake up." And so there was at least one occasion when Prabhupada corrected a devotee, he said, "You're sleeping." The devotee responded, he said, "No, Prabhupada, I'm not sleeping." He said, "My eyes were closed, but I wasn't sleeping." And Prabhupada responded, he said, "If your eyes are closed and you're not moving, you are asleep." Prabhupada did not like devotees to argue with him when he was chastising or pointing out faults in them. So here in the Bhagavad Gita we have Arjuna's example that he could conquer over sleep. And he also conquered over ignorance. Prabhupada says sleep also means ignorance. Because when we sleep, we're not conscious, although it's mentioned here that it was mentioned about never forgetting Krishna, but we see that most ordinary people, when they sleep, they don't remember Krishna. We simply dream of material life. We simply dream of sense gratification. But the nature of the pure devotee, like Arjuna, that they never forget Krishna, either in waking or in sleeping. So that's a very fortunate position. We don't get that position very easily. But to come to that stage, we have to apply our minds thinking about Krishna constantly. We have to intensify our remembrance of Krishna. All right, so going ahead, we hear Arjuna, he was asking Krishna, "Bring my chariot in the midst of the battlefield. I want to see who's assembled here." And then Lord Krishna brings the chariot into the middle of the battlefield, and he points out, he says to him, "Bhishma Drona Paramukata." In front of Bhishma and Drona, Partha, O son of Prita, Pashyaitan Samvetan Kurun iti. Just behold the Kurus. Text number 25. Just look, Arjuna, there's the Kurus, right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Krishna had brought the chariot in front of the opposing army, and there he could see, Arjuna could see, Bhishma and Drona. Bhishma, of course, grandfather, and Drona, his beloved teacher. And there's Arjuna. So this is a cause for Arjuna's affection to be aroused, and Arjuna becomes bewildered by the situation, thinking that I have to fight against these people who are my seniors and who are my worshipable persons and who I have loving relationship with. So going ahead, from the purport of text number 25, Prabhupada has written, Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Prita. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joking. The mind of Arjuna. What is the condition of Arjuna's mind?
Bewildered.
Bewildered. In what way?
Affection towards his relatives, his guru.
Sorry?
He was more affectionate towards his guru and relatives standing in front of him.
He was affected by the presence of his guru and his other relatives opposing him in the battle. So Arjuna was certainly confused. Is it proper to fight in this battle? And Prabhupada's noting that Lord Krishna could predict this. Actually, of course, Lord Krishna had arranged the bewilderment of Arjuna. Lord Krishna had arranged this in order to allow the speaking of Bhagavad Gita. Text 26. There, Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers. His fathers? How many fathers did Arjuna have? Anybody? Who are the fathers of Arjuna?
Bhurishwara.
Who is he? Who is Bhurishwara?
Bhurishwara is from Arjuna's mother's side. I'm not sure.
Why would he be his father? Anyway, grandfathers. Grandfather, of course we know Bhishma is one grandfather. Any other grandfathers? Teachers. Who is the teacher?
Dronacharya and Kripacharya.
Maternal uncles? Maternal uncles? That may be Bhurishrava you were speaking about from the mother's...
Shakuni Mama. Shakuni can be considered maternal.
Shakuni? Really? No? Okay. Brothers? Who are the brothers?
Duryodhana.
All 100 brothers.
All the brothers, yeah. Sons?
Sons of Duryodhana and other brothers.
Grandsons?
Likes of Abhimanyu.
Who?
Sons on the other side. So Duryodhana had sons who had already sons.
Well, you know, we could also understand on some of these things, relatives are in Arjuna's family. It's not that they all have to be in Duryodhana's from Duryodhana's side. They could be on the side of Arjuna. Could be the sons of the Pandavas. And Abhimanyu, he's there also. He's a grandson.
Abhimanyu's son, Maharaj.
No, his son, right. It's Maharaj Parikshit's grandson, right. Okay, who's the grandson? Do we know any grandsons there? I can't think of any. I have to look in Surrender Unto Me. It's all in the Surrender Unto Me. They're named there. Friends and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. Okay, so you can get more details if you look in Surrender Unto Me. Barijan Prabhu has listed each of the names of these different people who meet this relationship.
Maharaj, fathers can be because Arjuna was also son of Indra, and he's also Pandu.
Okay.
So,
Arjuna is the son of Indra, and his father is Pandu. Okay.
but
yeah.
none of them are in the battle, that's what I'm not.
Yeah, who's in the battle? Indra's not in the battle.
Correct, yeah.
His fathers.
Spiritual father and material father.
Maybe. I don't know, does he have... Can we say Drona? Who's the spiritual father of Arjuna? Kripa, is it? Lord Krishna.
Kripacharya was the Rajguru of the whole clan.
Yeah, he's the Rajaguru, right. Krishna is the father of the spiritual father of Arjuna, but Krishna is also his friend. And Krishna is also relative. Anyway, we have to refer to Surrender unto Me to get all the details of this. Okay, so the 4 reasons for Arjuna not wanting to fight, also given to you in your student handbook. You see these 4 reasons are listed. So we're going to look at them a little bit today. Compassion, first of all. Kripaya paraya vishto. Arjuna became overwhelmed with a high-grade compassion. Text number 27. Arjuna's overwhelmed. Compassion, an important quality for devotees, right? We offer our respects to the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So we should also be compassionate. And Arjuna is also overwhelmed with a high-grade compassion. Arjuna's compassion, however, has a problem, right? What's the problem with Arjuna's compassion?
It's material, Maharaj. It's for the body.
Yes, his compassion was based on the body. Right. That's the problem. So from Prabhupada's lecture, the other side, Duryodhana, why he did not think in that way, why Arjuna is thinking, because he is devotee. That is the difference. A devotee thinks like that. A devotee does not like to kill anyone, even an ant. So many atrocities were done to him. Still, when the question of killing came, he was not very happy. No, this is Vaishnava. He is ready to excuse even the greatest enemy. So, this is Prabhupada describing Arjuna's compassion and the particular quality of a devotee. That a devotee is ready, he's tolerant, he's ready to forgive even the greatest enemy. Devotee doesn't like to even kill insects. If there were many mosquitoes in Prabhupada's room, he wouldn't be happy if somebody came in and started killing them all. He would say, why are you making my room into a crematorium? He called one devotee over one day. He said, you see this insect on the table? He said, oh Prabhupada, you want me to throw it out of here? Prabhupada said, I want you to think how to give it Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada had that mode. He was concerned with compassion for all living entities. And real compassion is to give them Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna's reason for not to fight. Arjuna uvacha siddhanti mam gatrani. I feel the limbs of my body quivering. Arjuna was not a coward. It was not out of fear that the limbs of his body were quivering. Why was his body quivering? What would be the reason why he would feel the limbs of his body quivering? Anybody?
Because of grief, Maharaj?
Because of grief. Well, he hadn't done anything yet to grieve.
But he knew the consequences of what would happen if he would fight.
Maharaj, since he don't want to kill his own kinsman, so his body was bleeding.
Yes, I think it's due to his the difficulty which he has in making the decision, in trying to should he take part in the battle or not. It's such a difficult decision which he has to make. And just the thought of making this decision is causing his body to quiver. Mukam cha parishishyati, the mouth drying up to a greater degree. Mouth drying up. Again, the situation which Arjuna is finding himself in, it's causing him to experience these different emotions, very perplexing situation. Should he fight or not? Prabhupada comments, Dehadma buddhi swajanam. So Arjuna was not a coward, he was a competent warrior. But still, Dehatma buddhi, the bodily concept of life, is so strong that Arjuna admits, Drisvatu swajanam Krishna. My dear Krishna, I have to kill my own man? What is that, own man? Own man means this bodily relationship. Why others are not own man? Everyone is own man, because everyone is Krishna's son. So when one becomes Krishna conscious, he can see everyone own man. And when he is not Krishna conscious, he simply sees own man where there is bodily relationship. This is the defect. So this is Arjuna's defect, that he's thinking in terms of bodily relationship. He doesn't see everyone as own man. Everyone is Krishna's man, but he's making distinction, bodily defects. So, Dehatma buddhi, one who thinks we are the body. And then this is a problem. So Lord Krishna has to guide his devotee out of this kind of illusion. So compassion has been talked about, and then Arjuna comes up with another reason why he doesn't want to fight. And this is, he thinks, I want enjoy. Now, generally, our motivation for doing something is enjoyment. We want to enjoy. Maybe we don't enjoy doing it, but we want to enjoy at least the results of doing something. You go to work, you have a job. I mean, you may not enjoy the work, but you enjoy the fruit of the work. And so there must be some enjoyment. It's the impetus behind every activity. So Arjuna is thinking, I don't want to fight because I won't be able to enjoy. Mentioned here, Nimittani chapashyami viparitani, envisioned only painful reverses in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. He would not be happy. Why would he not be happy? Why would he not be happy? He's going to gain victory over the foe.
Yeah, sometimes since Arjuna was a king, and even if he would win the battle, there would be many people who would die. So who would appreciate his valor? So there would be nobody to appreciate his valor of winning the battle. So that would not bring him happiness.
Yes, you're right. Very good. Yeah. Nobody would appreciate this. Everybody, if he fights a battle, everyone's killed. Then who can he show off his fruit, the victory? He doesn't have anyone to show it off to. So he won't enjoy it. Continuing with the same point, Na chashre o na pashyami, I do not foresee how any good can come. If Krishna says, can't you see, I am on your side, na kankshe vijayam Krishna, na cha rajyam sukhani cha. Text number 31. Arjuna can't see any good. Where's the good from it? Text number 31 says, I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So this is Arjuna's arguments to Krishna. Nor can I desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Victory, vijayam, kingdom, rajyam, and sukhani, happiness. So Arjuna thinking, I won't enjoy, no happiness. Why should I do it? No point. Prabhupada explains, so there are two things, Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas. I remember, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be one very popular sari shop in Calcutta, not far away from our temple. It was called Shreyas. Shreyas means what is ultimately beneficial, and Preyas means what is immediately beneficial. Preyas is material. Shreyas is more concerned with the spiritual. So the man called his sari shop Shreyas. Thought it's very interesting. So these two words are explained also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and here also in Bhagavad Gita, in relation to Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada brings it up. He said there are two things here, Shreyas and Preyas. Here, Arjuna is speaking of Shreyas. Shreyas means ultimate good, and Preyas means immediately palatable. So here, the problem is, what is Shreyas? What is ultimately good? That is mistaken here. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is required. Right? We need the Bhagavad Gita to understand what is actually Shreyas. Continuing the same point, Prabhupada explains, he, meaning Arjuna, is thinking that Krishna is not so important. My family is important. My family, although he is devotee, therefore Kanista Adhikari. Kanista Adhikari meaning in the lower stage of devotee, in the lower stage of devotion. One may be interested in Krishna consciousness, but his real interest is how to improve this material life. They are thinking that I can bring Krishna in the midst of my family, provided Krishna helps me to enjoy this material life. So, this is the Kanishta Adhikari. I will bring Krishna in the midst of my family, provided Krishna helps me to enjoy this material life. So that is not the highest devotion. That is the lowest devotion. That is Kanishta, or the materialistic devotee. He's devotee. He's a devotee, but he has a lot of material attachments, a lot of material thinking. Right? So Prabhupada's explaining Arjuna's situation here when he's thinking about enjoyment, that he's thinking about the family, not just thinking about Krishna. Kim Boger, O Govinda, Arjuna is saying, O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? Arjuna is expressing his disapproval of the situation. That what's the point of having a kingdom? Why should we even worry, even think about happiness? Our own life is going to be useless, because all the people whom we may want to enjoy these things with, they may all die in the battlefield. They're all here on the battlefield. Nahatya drattarastran na kapriti swasjanardana. Of what pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So you can see Arjuna's devotion coming out. Although these sons of Dhritarashtra were so unfair in their dealings with the Pandavas, although the Pandavas had suffered so many atrocities because of the dealings of the sons of Dhritarashtra, but still Arjuna didn't have the mood that he wanted to kill them. Although they tried to kill the Pandavas, but still Arjuna's mood was that, no, it's not so good, I don't want to kill them because they're our relatives, and why should I kill them? I should kill them just so I can have a kingdom, just so I can be a king, so I can be a ruler. Remember, they had suggested to Duryodhana, at least give us enough land, give us one village, let us rule one village so that we can still be Kshatriyas. But Duryodhana said, no, we will not give him even enough land to go through the eye of a needle. So that was the situation that the Pandavas were faced, that they were going to have to give up being Kshatriyas practically, because Dhritarashtra's sons didn't want to give any land, even one village to them to rule. But Arjuna's thinking that, well, I don't want to kill them. I don't think it's good to fight. It's not proper. So Arjuna's showing himself as a devotee, not as a coward, but as a devotee. Prabhupada explains, a devotee will be more thoughtful when it comes to doing things. He's not going to act impulsively and rush out on the battlefield. Where are they? I'm going to fight these people. I'm going to kill them. That is not the thinking of the devotee. The devotee thinks carefully before doing everything. Prabhupada explains about the enjoyment consideration. He says, everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield, and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. Yes, if there's so much blood at stake, the lives of so many people, especially relatives and friends, they're all going to be killed on the battlefield. It takes away the pleasure of the victory. They won't be able to enjoy the opulence with so much guilt attached to it. And we actually see in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described Maharaj Yudhisthira after the battle of Kurukshetra, how much he was concerned, how he was really upset, and he was very regretful that he'd been responsible for the death of so many people. And he had to come before Grandfather Bhishma, and Grandfather Bhishma was able to pacify his mind. But only by speaking for many days. Okay, going ahead. Sinful reactions. As devotees, we are also very cautious. We don't want to engage in any activities which are sinful. Anything which is going to bring reactions on us. So Arjuna is also concerned like that. He thinks that if I fight, sinful reactions will be there. Because fighting means he's going to kill. He's going to at least injure and then kill also people. So there will be reactions for this. We know Parasuram. Parasuram was an incarnation of Godhead. And he killed the Kshatriya race how many times? How many?
21 times.
21 times Parasuram killed the Kshatriya race, Kshatriya kings, 21 times. Did he have to atone for it?
He was asked to Maharaj.
Huh?
He has created the kernel of his... He was asked to perform tapasya, penance after that, to atone for that.
Yes, he had to do penance after that. He did a lot of penance after that to atone for the killing of so many people. And we see also in Srimad Bhagavatam, Indra killed Vritasura. Now Vritasura was a demon, he was an asura. And Indra killed him. But he had to do tapasya, he had sinful reactions. He had to perform he had to do some tapasya for quite a long time to get relief from the sinful reactions. So we have to be very careful about incurring sinful reactions. We're all very careful to strictly follow regulative principles. If we don't follow, we get reactions. And Arjuna is also concerned. Papam evashrayat asman. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Even though these people are aggressors, Arjuna is worried about sinful reactions. Now, what was the acts of aggression which the Kauravas had performed against the Pandavas? What were some of the things they had done?
Poison. Bhima was poisoned.
Bhima, they tried to poison Bhima, yes?
No,
Huh?
they burned the palace.
Yes, they sent the Pandavas to live in the palace, the shellac house, and they set the whole thing on fire in the night. They thought they would burn them.
They occupied their land.
In front of Draupadi, in front of the
They insulted Draupadi, tried to disrobe her in the presence of so many other men. And then, what was the other thing?
They took away their land.
They took away all the property, all the land, right? They took everything from the Pandavas. So, do the Pandavas have a good reason to kill these people?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes. According to Manu Samhita, they have to be killed.
Huh?
According to Manu Samhita, those can be killed.
They can be killed. Well, I don't know about Manu Samhita, I don't know, does Manusamhita actually say that?
Yes, ma'am.
Really? What does it say?
I will give you the verse, ma'am. Give me one second.
Well, if somebody's a murderer, they can be hanged. That's Manusamhita. But aggressors, somebody takes away your wife, you can go and kill him. Or somebody takes your land, you can kill him. But it is stated that is according to Artha Shastra. Artha Shastra may allow us to slay the aggressors, but according to Dharma Shastra, it's not there. Dharma Shastras are different from Artha Shastras. If you look at the Artha Shastras, then they will say you can kill somebody, they take away your land, you have a right to kill them. But in Dharma Shastra, that is not there. So there are different opinions, different Shastras. It's a question of which level of Shastra are you going to act on?
Maharaj,
yes?
What would be Niti Shastra? Maharaj, what would be Niti Shastra?
Niti Shastra. Niti Shastra. I would think that may also be Dharma Shastra. I don't know. I'd have to find out. I'm not sure. What is the point? What's there in Niti Shastra? What does it say?
I don't know, Maharaj.
Oh, you don't know.
I just heard about Niti Shastra, so I wanted to know what is like Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, Niti Shastra, and little just one sentence here about, like you explained Dharma Shastra and Artha Shastra, so I would just wanted to know what was Niti Shastra, if you would know.
No, I don't know, I'm sorry. Maybe we can find out from somebody else.
So in the Manusamhita Maharaj 8.3.0, Atatainam ayantahanyat evaicharyam. Without consideration, one should kill the aggressors, as there is no fault in killing them.
Without consideration, one should kill the aggressors. Who are these aggressors? What have they done?
I think, Maharaj, there are 8 kind of aggressors. One who is trying to kill someone. If someone is trying to kill us, if someone is kidnapping their wife, like that, there are 8 aggressors. I'm not remembering all of them.
Yeah, there are different types of aggressors. All right. Anyway, if this is how it's stated, then this section is being related on the level of Artha Shastra. But on the level of Dharma Shastra, no, Vedanta Sutra is it Manusamhita?
Manusmriti, Maharaj,
Manusmriti. Manusmriti. Okay. So, Manusmriti, this is, you see,
but from the commentaries of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Krishna Chakravarti Thakur, they say these instructions belong to Artha Shastra, like you have said.
Yes, right. Killing the aggressors is definitely, this is Artha Shastra. This is not on the platform of Dharma Shastra. So Arjuna is reluctant to kill them. Therefore Arjuna says, sin will overcome us. He's worried. We should always be worried about sinful reactions. We should always be hesitant to act. If we're thinking it's not right, we certainly want to be careful. Devotee is very thoughtful. So Arjuna's concluding statement, Nachashriyo nupashyami. Papam. Papam evashrayat asman, verse 36. Okay, so text 31 we heard. Let me see what... I think some of you have to close your mics. You know, it's very difficult if you have a lot of background noise there going on. Please try to be careful. Text number 36. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? How could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So this is the point that Arjuna is worried about. Swajanam hi katam hadva sukhina shyamamadava. O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? No, certainly that's a reasonable claim to be made by Arjuna. Killing our own kinsmen is not a great, there's no pleasure, there's no credit to someone who has to kill their own people. And Arjuna said, addressing Krishna, that you're the husband of the goddess of fortune. You should know this is not right. So going on, Arjuna's got another reason. And he's going to describe about the destruction of the dynasty. So he begins first of all, text number 39, that taking part in the battle, it's going to mean the death of so many elders. Right? Text 39 describes. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. So the beginning is with the death of the elders. With the death of the elders, then who takes charge of the family? The responsibility is passed on to not the elders, but the juniors. And the juniors are immature, and they're not very well trained, they're not very well educated. And the result is the eternal family tradition is vanquished. We see this kind of thing in the world today. You know, the people who lived in India, traditionally they were very religious and pious, but somehow they become separated from the elders. Maybe they move to the West, they get jobs in the West, and they go off to the West and they work in the West, and they lose their connection with the family, and they lose all the culture, and all the tradition is lost. And Prabhupada saw himself. Prabhupada went to the West in 1966, and he was sponsored by the Agarwal family, right? The Agarwal family, Prabhupada had met one man, a businessman, somewhere in, I think it was in Agra or Mathura, and the man said his son was in America. So Srila Prabhupada requested him, can you ask your son to sponsor me? I would like to go to America. So Prabhupada never thought anything more about it, but later on, that man came to Prabhupada and said, my son sponsored you, here's your invitation letter. So Prabhupada took this opportunity to go to America. And so he went to America, and those of you who have read Prabhupada Leelamrita, you know what happened. Prabhupada went to Butler in Pennsylvania, and he stayed with the Agarwal family. This man Agarwal had married an American woman, and he was living with his American wife there. And they had a child, and they were very nice, very accommodating. Sally Agarwal. The American woman was Sally Agarwal, and maybe you've seen her. There's been a few BTG articles about her and some videos made of her. She's a very nice lady and very respectful to Srila Prabhupada. But she's an American. She's not a Hindu. She didn't know anything about traditional culture. But she was very nice to Prabhupada. The point is, anyway, the eternal family tradition is... In our eternal family tradition, we're talking about Sanatan Dharma, eternal religious principles. And these things are lost. It's all gone with westernization. It just goes off in the wind. And then the result is, when the family tradition is lost, then the rest of the family become involved in irreligion. The elders die, the tradition's lost, and the people take up irreligious activities. Irreligious activities. What do they do for their enjoyment? Previously, when the elders were present, they go to the temple. What do they do now? Now they go to the bar, and they go to the club, and they go partying. Oh, so many things, so many sinful things, so many irreligious things. And then, what happens? The next thing is degradation of the women. That's a big problem. Right? Degradation of womanhood. That's mentioned. Text 40. When irreligion is prominent in the family, text number 40, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Right? In Sanskrit, unwanted progeny, how is it called? What are they called? Unwanted progeny?
Varna Shankara.
Varna Shankara.
Varna Shankara, right. Varna Shankara, degradation of womanhood. So the women, because the family become irreligious, the men become irreligious, and the women follow them. The women don't stop them, because, you know, the women think, well, the men are doing it, we also do it. The women follow the men, they become like the men. And they also become involved in irreligion. And the result is the women are taken advantage of. They're not protected. They're not given the proper protection they're supposed to get. And the result is unwanted progeny, or the Varna Sankara. Right? And that's what we have in the world today. We see everywhere in the world, women go out to work everywhere. Women are all working. They're not protected. They're exploited. When Prabhupada was preaching, it was a time when there was a women's liberation movement. And Prabhupada was preaching about how women should be protected. And women didn't like it. Prabhupada was explaining women need to be protected. No, but they didn't like it. They thought, no, we want to go out to work. We want to be engineers. We want to do all the things the men do. So they do. Women do everything the men do. And they do more than the men do. Women give birth. Men don't have to give birth. But women, they give birth. And that's when you get the unwanted progeny. So that's what creates the problem. And the result is hellish life for both family and the destroyer of the family tradition. The family life is no longer peaceful and happy. People live in hell. They just argue and fight with each other, constantly friction and so much divorce. This is the situation in the world today. Community projects, family welfare activities are devastated. All these things are inevitable because there's the whole family mood, the whole community mood, it's all lost. People are all spread out, they're all divided. There's no more love. Destroyer of family traditions dwell always in hell. In text 43. So this is the stages in the destruction of the dynasty, mentioned here by Arjuna. We should be familiar with these things. Certainly very easy to understand, very systematic and progressive. With the death of the elders, the tradition's lost, people become irreligious. When people are irreligious, the women also become irreligious and degraded. Women are degraded, you get unwanted progeny. And it results in a hellish life. And then community projects and family welfare activities all stopped. So, text number 40, right? We were hearing text 40 describing about the unwanted progeny. So it's mentioned here. Adharma bhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriya strishu tushtashu varshneya jayate varna shankara. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. I don't know about the situation in your country. I don't know even which country you're all from here today. I know you're from a number of places. But we do find there are many countries in the world today where you have a lot of unmarried mothers, or maybe children being brought up in a one-parent family. And the mother's bringing up the child on her own, or sometimes the father's bringing up the child on his own. Family is separated. This is an unnatural condition. It's not pleasant for the child. And the government, somehow, some governments they actually facilitate this kind of thing. For example, in Australia, I'm told that in Australia, if a woman is unmarried but has a child, then the government will give her a home and they'll give her income. She doesn't have to worry. The government will provide for her. And so some women, they're happy to get a child without marriage. And they have the child, they bring the child up without a husband. They think better to have a child without the husband. If the husband is there, it's very difficult. If I have to bring a child up with the husband, this be always arguing, quarreling, going to end in divorce. So I have my child, I don't need a husband. You get things like this. It's an unnatural situation. It's not healthy for children. And the result is these children grow up lacking the proper guidance from the parents. And then we get so many social evils. You get drug addictions and so many other things happening. So Prabhupada comments in relation to this verse, as children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. According to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So I want you to consider yourselves. Let's see. I want you to consider what is the appropriate and inappropriate application of the statement. Women are generally not very intelligent. Can we have some groups? How many people do we have here today?
18, Maharaj.
All right, so then maybe you can go in pairs.
Sorry, Maharaj?
Just take a partner, pairs, 2 people together,
Pairs, okay.
And you can discuss together what you consider to be appropriate and inappropriate application of this statement. Okay?
Shall I open the rooms now, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So you're discussing together?
Yeah, we just started. We're just going to start, Maharaj.
Okay.
So, in terms of Mataji, you have anything to say first?
Sorry?
Oh, she's not.
What was that?
She's not in. I don't know. I can't hear from. I couldn't hear from Tulasi Krishna Mataji Maharaj. I think she was about to say something just now. Maharaj, can I check with you a point?
Yes.
Like for women being less intelligent, right? We can implement it in real life. We women are like part of the unintelligent category. But then, if in terms of Vaishnavi, we assume that we can see them as a devotee of Krishna, right? So, in terms of applying that women as less intelligent category for devotees, do we apply that as well? For devotees, Vaishnavis who are serving Krishna and also doing this preaching and all that?
Well, definitely.
Can we still apply this statement?
Definitely. You know, what is a devotee? Some people are real devotees and other people, they claim to be devotees. So it's not so easy thing, Who do we classify as being a devotee? Is it just everybody who puts on neck beads and puts on a tilak that they're devotee? Or is it everybody who's initiated is a devotee? There are different levels of devotees. So I don't think we can just simply make it so easy that, oh, okay, I'm a devotee, so I'm different, There are women who are devotees, and there are women who are not devotees. Of course, there's a difference, devotee women. But who is actually really a devotee? What kind of devotee are we talking about? Right?
Alright, can you make it a statement like materialistic women who are going behind these material opulences to be lesser intelligence. I mean, in that category. And Vaishnavis who are spreading Krishna consciousness movement to be, not to be in that category. Can we implement that way, Maharaj, the statement?
Yes. Yeah, you can implement it. We want to discuss how should we implement it. All right? We want to hear from you. How do you want to implement this? What is the appropriate way to implement it, and what's the inappropriate way?
Right. Tulasi Mataji, you have anything to say, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Okay, Mataji. In this world, we all are Sudras. So directly, we are not intelligent. Everyone are not intelligent. Am I right, Mataji?
Yes.
Maharaj, am I right, Maharaj?
Well, everyone has some intelligence. You can't say you don't have any intelligence. Everyone has some intelligence. Some people are more intelligent than others. But, you can't tell me you don't have any intelligence.
But Maharaj, in this Kali Yuga, everyone in this Kali Yuga are meant to be unintelligent or less intelligent, right, Maharaj?
Yeah, lazy, misguided.
In that statement, we take is this concept still applicable in this Kali Yuga?
Yeah.
Since we are already being addressed, like those in Kali Yuga are lesser intelligent or not unintelligent.
Yes, Kali Yuga people, we can say that. But still, you have to make the best of the bad bargain, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of advantages also in Kali Yuga. A lot of benefits in Kali Yuga you don't get in other yugas.
All right. So Mataji, could you continue your statement, Mataji, just now? How you wanted to say that out just now?
So the statement is not specifically for women, it's actually for all Kali Yuga people.
Yes, right.
So
this meeting is being recorded.
Behave properly means the whole family was, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So you're having a good discussion here?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
Maharaj, remember me, Maharaj?
From?
From Kuching.
Oh, Kuching. Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna from me. From Kuching. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Are you still in Kuching?
Yes, Maharaj, I'm still in Kuching.
Kripa told me he became a Saravakian.
Yeah, he got a PR. He got a PR.
Yeah, become a Saravakian now.
Yeah. So after this COVID, please come to Kuching, Maharaj.
After? Will there ever be an after COVID? We don't know if we'll ever have an after COVID.
Yes, Maharaj. So we are discussing about this women are not very intelligent. As to what Prabhu was telling me that in spiritual we are all spirit souls. Okay, so this is more for those who are not on the spiritual platform. Isn't it, Maharaj?
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Are you on the spiritual platform?
Still climbing. by your grace, Maharaj.
Yes?
Still climbing the ladder. Haven't reached there yet.
Okay. So you're...
And then, say again, Maharaj.
So you're a devotee? Trying to be devotees, right?
Trying to be a servant of the devotee.
Yeah.
Always serves the devotees.
Mm-hmm. And what about Partha Prabhu? What do you say?
I'm aspiring servant, Maharaj, to all the devotees.
What about, how do you feel about women, though? Are they less intelligent?
I felt that...
What is appropriate?
Yes, Maharaj.
What's appropriate and what's inappropriate?
So anyone who might be like children, women and old men has to be protected as per Srila Prabhupada. So because of their less intelligence, they can be deviated very easily. So they should be kept in much protected way, and they have a lot of good things they have to offer to the society. So we should focus on the things they can offer to the society and not focus on the things which, not to make a competition between these two. That's not a good idea also.
Okay. And so what's the inappropriate understanding then? What's the wrong way to understand this?
Wrong way to understand this is that women are fools and their words should never be considered. That is wrong understanding.
Say that again?
To understand that women are fools and they not consider any of their words or their things. That is wrong.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good. Okay, very good, thank you.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj.
I think we could close the meetings, Prabhu. Let's bring them back together and hear from them.
Close the rooms, right? Shall I close the rooms, Maharaj?
Yes, please, yeah. Hare Krishna. Is everyone back?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
All right, so we were discussing, we want to hear about what would be first of all, what's the inappropriate way to understand this statement that women are less intelligent, and what were some of the other things? Women as a class? Do you remember? What's the quote? Let me find it. Women in general are not very intelligent. So, can we hear from the devotees? The women are not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. Women are similarly prone to degradation. Women are like children. So, we would like to hear, let's hear first of all from some ladies.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Maharaj.
Go ahead.
Yes, women are not intelligent because it is said this because of their tendency to be easily misguided or abused, and because of their emotional vulnerability, Maharaj. Especially we can see this in the example of Diti, who was so attached that she wanted mating from her husband at the evening time, which was strongly opposed by husband and all. So in that case, she was so much driven by her desires that she did not even hear a good counsel. So she was overwhelmed by the desires and sex impulse that she did that. And the other example that comes to mind is of a Kaikai who had Lord Ramchandra as her son, but still from the wrong guidance by a maid servant on no basis, she just took a decision of banishing him to the forest. So women are not intelligent in the sense they can't, they are thinking mainly on the bodily concept. They're mainly thinking on terms of emotion, and because of this they can be misguided, cheated, and worstly abused.
Oh, so you agree with the statements?
Yes, Maharaj.
So how about the application of this statement? So should we consider this is true in the case of all women?
Prabhu, Maharaj, sorry, in this case, Prabhupada has specifically said that those who have accepted Krishna consciousness, they are not ordinary women. And the example of that is he loved his disciples, all female disciples equally. And he even allowed like Matajis to go on altar like in Western world. Even deity worship is performed by females, and even Yamuna Mataji's the Shringar Aarti is played everywhere around the world. So it is not we are discriminating based on the body, but it's based on the qualities that it is said women are intelligent. But if they accept the philosophy and Krishna consciousness, then it is not wise to discriminate against them in that terms.
Okay, I think that's a very nice analysis. You say if a woman has accepted Krishna consciousness, now that would vary, that how much somebody has accepted Krishna consciousness. You know, could we say that all the women who are members of the Krishna consciousness movement are therefore not prone to degradation? And we could say that they're also very intelligent and trustworthy.
Maharaj, it depends on the level of their advancement. It does not depend on the institution we are in. Women are still prone, but the level of consciousness that is developed, it is based on that.
That's a very good reply. Thank you, Maraji. I certainly think this is good. That it depends on their advancement in Krishna consciousness. It's not a general rule that all women, just because they're members of the Krishna consciousness movement, they may be initiated and even twice initiated, and they may be, you know, even in managerial positions and so on. We do have ladies on the GBC, and we have ladies temple presidents, and there's a lot of discussion going on that women will also be Diksha gurus. We don't know, but that's under discussion. So, the position of women. Inappropriate would be, it would be inappropriate to make it hard and fast rule that all women are subject to degradation. And in the same way, it would be inappropriate to say that the women are not subject to degradation. We have to look at their spiritual advancement. We have to consider the case of individuals, right? So, thank you, Mariji, for this contribution. Let's hear from some men. One of our men, Chaitanya Mangal Prabhu, would you like to speak?
Maharaj, so maybe way to misuse would be in devotee communities, say, if there is an argument or some fight on something, so generally the men might use it to win the argument. This particular statement that Prabhupada has mentioned, that women are not so intelligent, and you're proving this true. So this will be a misuse of this particular statement in, say, day-to-day life.
Yes, right. We as men may try to use this statement that all women, Prabhupada said, women are, and like we may say, so all women are prone to degradation. All women are not all women are not trustworthy. Prabhupada said it. No, did Prabhupada say it? Well, he wrote it, but does it mean every woman? Of course, as Maharaji said, some women are also devotees, and if they have surrendered to Krishna, so we have to consider every case on its individual merits. What is their spiritual advancement? How much they have actually taken shelter of Lord Krishna. Right? That's important. And Maharaji gave examples in the scriptures of women who showed some faults. She gave the example of Devotee and how she took advantage of her husband, and the result was she gave birth to 2 demons. What are some examples of devotee women who are very strong devotees and who are firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness and who show great intelligence and who are very trustworthy? Give some examples from the scriptures. Yes?
Am I audible, Maharaj?
Yes.
Kunti Maharani.
Okay, Kunti Maharani. What did she do?
Devahuti Mata.
Devahuti. Just a minute, we're on Kunti. Let me hear. What did Kunti do? What's her example?
Her surrender to Krishna.
Well, did she surrender to Krishna? I mean, she had children before her, she had a child before her marriage. Was that good? You know, she conceived Karna before marriage. And then she put him on a boat and put him down the river and pretended she didn't know. Nobody knew. Kept a secret. You know, is that very good? Is that proper behavior for a woman? What do you say? Yeah?
Maharaj, can it be considered as an accidental fall down? For a devotee?
Well, we have to remember it wasn't Kali Yuga, and it was very special circumstances that although she had a child, she was able to keep her virginity and somehow at the same time have a child without people knowing about it. She could give birth to a child would take birth immediately without pregnancy. So it wasn't normal. Wasn't the normal kind of pregnancy. It was a very special situation. But in the more recent... Janava Mata is in the more recent times, yeah, Lord Nityananda's had 2 wives, and one of the wives, Janava Mata, she went on to become the Acharya in the Sampradaya after Lord Nityananda had finished his pastimes and was no longer manifest. Then Janava Mata became the Acharya of the Sampradaya, and she was very saintly, and she also accepted some disciples. Not very many, but she did accept some persons as her disciples. Yes. And then we have also Lord Chaitanya's own widow, Vishnupriya. Vishnupriya, after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, then Vishnupriya was a young woman. She was only 16 years old, but she became very renounced, and she maintained her renunciation her whole life, and she spent another 80 years. She was 96 when she left the body. And so she spent 80 years very renounced. It said she would only eat as many grains of rice as she would chant rounds of japa. So she was a very renounced person. It said no one could even see her face. She covered herself. Sita who?
Lord Ram's wife.
Lord Rama's wife, Sita Maharani. Of course, Mother Sita is born from the earth. She's also not an ordinary lady. She was born from the earth, not a natural birth. And she was very divine personality. Certainly.
Purnamasi.
Purnamasi.
Yeah. In Krishna Lila, Purnamasi.
What did she do?
Although she knew, like in the Astakali Lila, we read about it, that in the morning when Krishna was sleeping, so Krishna was having all the red marks on his cheeks. So before Mother Yashoda entered, when Mother Yashoda entered, so she used to very cleverly deal with Mother Yashoda and Krishna, hiding all the secrets of Krishna. And she used to very cleverly deal with Mother Yashoda and telling her that this is the brilliance of the sun which is coming on Krishna's place. This is the brilliance of the Krishna's kundal which is coming on his cheek. So that is how she used to, very cleverly and trustworthy hide the secrets of Krishna with his gopis and deal with Yashoda Maya and other, senior Vaishnavas, senior family members.
Okay, thank you for that. Interesting. Okay, so generally we see women. Prabhupada explains, here's a quote from Prabhupada. Chanakya Pandit says, never trust the politician and women. Of course, woman comes to Krishna consciousness. That position is different. We are speaking of ordinary woman. Krishna says in another place, Striyo Vaishyas Tata Sudra. Alright, even we be of lower birth, like women, Vaishyas and Sudras. So women are considered low birth, Vaishyas and Sudras are also considered low birth. And in the Kali Yuga, we're all low birth, because it said, Kalo Sudra Sambhavaha. In the Kali Yuga, everyone is Sudra on lower. And so women are not the only ones of lower birth. We men are also of low birth. But we can all come to the higher position by Krishna consciousness. That is the important point. So women in general, we could say there are materialistic women and there's devotee women. Devotee woman means one who's surrendered to Krishna, who has really dedicated her life to Krishna. And as one of our ladies said, we have to examine the individual cases. Some people may claim to be devotees and others are actually devotees. We have to look at the individual advancement of each person to understand. All right. Are there any questions or comments on this? Everyone satisfied?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Just a little thing I was thinking of. I read once, I think it was a word that you said something about the statement about politicians and women. And she was saying something like, nowadays all the men are acting or being like politicians.
Now the men are acting what?
Like being like politicians. I guess it's just that nowadays all the men are trying to be somehow like acting or being like politicians. So in her like understanding, it was like with the statement Prabhupada meant that everyone who is outside of Krishna consciousness is either a woman or somehow a politician trying to control or trying to do something. And that was what I was reading of her, and I liked that.
All right. Yes, everyone who's outside of Krishna consciousness, then they're either women or politicians. They're in these two categories. We could say that. The question is again, who is actually in Krishna consciousness? Again, as Maharaji said, it's not just a matter of being a member of the institution. There are many people in the institution who are not actually practicing Krishna consciousness, and they're not really dedicated to Krishna consciousness. We have to consider every individual, the circumstances, judging each individual, and see how much someone has actually dedicated themselves to Krishna consciousness. Then we can understand who is trustworthy and who's intelligent and so on.
I also think that, I mean, I grew up in the Muslim family and Muslim community, and I mean, I still am very much, because I'm still in the family and everything, I still a lot of contact with the Muslim society, and I also see there, I mean, there are women who are, I think they're like the best, to me, like the best examples of mothers, and very loving, but also very intelligent, you know, like they also read the scriptures and study them, and I think, I mean, I would say Krishna consciousness goes beyond this one, and if all those other traditions or religions who are following like them and are intelligent, and they also can be considered to be like that.
Yes, definitely. You can. Some people have they have the very strong bonds there with the family. It makes a big difference. The women in the Muslim tradition are very protected, and they have to cover the bodies. It helps a lot to keep the chastity of the women, and it protects them from degradation. It's an austerity, of course, but it has its merits, it has its values. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. We'll go ahead here. Another quote. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 6th Chapter. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that when the women become unchaste for want of proper protection, there are unwanted children called Varna Sankara. To insult a chaste woman means to bring about disaster in the duration of life. So the second part of the paragraph here, insulting a chaste lady brings about disaster. So this, of course, this is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam in relation to Draupadi, that she had been insulted, and this brought about disaster in the lives of all those who were present and who did not speak up opposing that. So women in general, they should be protected. They have to want protection. One young lady, I remember one year in Mayapur, she was objecting that she was a Western woman, and she said, I don't like being called a walking womb. She objected to people calling her mother. She said, I am not a walking womb. She didn't like the idea of being, she didn't understand the principle that to address someone as a mother is actually the greatest honor and respect for the woman. But she considered it an insult. And so these are some of the obstacles which we face in trying to give protection to women. And if you ask a woman to cover her body, you know, they think, oh my goodness, you know, what's going on, why this, you know, they don't like it. They think, oh. We have to be so primitive, we cannot dress properly. They don't know what proper dress is. So there are many problems in trying to give protection to women. It's not an easy thing. We're trying to learn from the culture. If people are brought up in the culture, then it's much easier. Just like as Prabhu said, in the Muslim families there, they're brought up in that culture, and so it's natural for them to follow the tradition of their elders. Krishna consciousness is different. We're introducing it to people everywhere. So people are coming to Krishna consciousness and they come without that cultural upbringing. And sometimes it's difficult for them. It's difficult to accept. But it takes training. That's the idea. Okay, another question for you. Why did Krishna, who is all-loving, incite Arjuna to war? Would anybody like to respond to this? Why did Lord Krishna, who is all-loving, incite Arjuna to war? Is that an appropriate thing to say about Lord Krishna? Certainly, we know from Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna encouraged Arjuna to war. Now, Lord Krishna is all-loving. What would be the reason for Krishna to incite Arjuna to take to battle? Yes, Prabhu? Yes?
So, in my opinion, it's the very love that is making Krishna to incite Arjuna to the war, because those people who are doing adharma, because of that they're accumulating sin, and they will keep doing that unless they are properly punished. And by punishing them, the soul can be actually relieved of those problems, and then it can progress further. So in that way, Krishna wants to establish dharma and kill those adharmas.
So you're saying this is Krishna's loving relationship. This is another act of love by Lord Krishna.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone agree with this? Any other responses?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes? Okay, one person.
Krishna says...
Krishna always want to... Hare Krishna.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Yes, Maharaj. So Krishna always want to glorify his devotees. That is what the plan of Krishna is. Krishna always want to glorify his devotees. So that's why in order to glorify Arjuna, Krishna wanted Arjuna to kill them all. Like, we had often seen that Krishna had already done that. In Ramayana also, we had seen that Ramchandra is giving this instruction to Hanuman. That what do you think, I cannot kill Ravana? I am sitting in his heart. I can go and kill him. But in order to glorify Vanar Sena and you all, I am doing all this thing. So that's why, Krishna, in order to glorify Arjuna and part.
Okay, very nice point. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very nice. Yes, someone else had a point?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah, also Prabhupada mentioned in the pulpit that Krishna does not tolerate any wrongdoer against the devotee. So that's why he wanted this fight.
Okay.
He can tolerate any wrongdoer to himself, but not for the devotee.
Yes, very nice argument. Thank you. Very good. Yes, just one more point, Prabhu.
Yes, Maharaj. So, Krishna himself claims in the Bhagavad Gita that he comes for both the reasons, Paritranaya Sadhunam and all Vinashaya Chadashkritam. So, he also comes to kill the sinners.
Oh, okay. Yes, right. So, Krishna is not only loving, both sides are there. Yeah. Good. Very nice responses. Thank you. Let's see what Prabhupada has to say. We'll read the other side, Duryodhana. Why he did not think in that way. Why Arjuna is thinking. Because he is devotee. That is the difference. A devotee thinks like that. A devotee does not like to kill anyone, even an ant. So many atrocities were done. Still, when the question of killing came, he was not very happy. No, this is Vaishnava. He's ready to excuse even the greatest enemy. Oh, we heard that before. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. Right? This point was also brought up by you devotees. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. If you insult his devotee, the devotee may excuse, but Krishna will not excuse. This is Krishna's position. Therefore, be careful to insult a devotee. A devotee may excuse you, but Krishna will not excuse you. Krishna is so strict. He cannot tolerate any insult to his devotee. Therefore, this arrangement of fighting Arjuna wanted. No, let them be excused. Krishna wanted. No, you must fight. You must kill them. Right? So this is Prabhupada, some more from Prabhupada's purport. One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should Arjuna be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subject to the reaction of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to the selection of the wrong path of action. This is from the purport, text 27 of the 2nd chapter. So Prabhupada's purport is revealing to us why the Lord is encouraging Arjuna in this battle. That Arjuna shouldn't be afraid. He shouldn't be aggrieved at the death of his relatives. They're going to take birth again. He did not deserve to break the law. But there was no sin involved. Arjuna was afraid of it's not sinful to do your duty. Okay, Arjuna cast aside his bow and arrows, and down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Text number 46, chapter 1. Arjuna put down his Gandiva bow. Now that is interesting, that Arjuna put down his Gandiva bow. Arjuna vowed he would never put down his Gandiva bow. But here, he's so overwhelmed with the situation that he himself has put down his bow. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings, and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. So from Prabhupada's introduction here, Prabhupada's explaining why Arjuna was put into this condition of ignorance, seemingly ignorant condition, that Arjuna was confused what to do, what should he do. But Prabhupada explained this was all Krishna's plan, just so that Arjuna could question Lord Krishna about the problems of life, and Lord Krishna could speak the Bhagavad Gita and then thus guide all of us in how we can live in this world and make proper use of the human life. So the conclusion of the first chapter. From the first chapter, it is concluded that inquiry about the self, or the Atma, takes place in a person who is compassionate in nature and non-violent, and not in one who is cruel and violent. It may appear contradictory, because later on, of course, so much violence is going to be encouraged, and it may appear to be cruel and violent, but we have to understand it all properly according to the directions of the scriptures. So from the first chapter, Arjuna is bringing out his nature, expressing compassion and appealing for non-violence. Okay, so we're going to finish here just to summarize what we went over. We saw the breakdown of the first chapter, right? We heard about Arjuna's different reasons for not fighting. Do you remember now? Tulsi Krishna Priya, what's Arjuna's reasons for not fighting?
Being compassionate.
Right, that's the first one, right? Being compassionate. Good. Yes? And what's the second one? Someone else? Prabhu?
Enjoyment, Maharaj.
Enjoyment, okay. Enjoyment, I want to enjoy the kingdom. And then the third, another one? Sinful reactions. He's worried about sinful reactions, right? I'm going to kill people. I'm going to do harm to others. I'll get reactions for it. That's a good reason. And the fourth reason was?
Destruction of family tradition.
And how? Destruction of the dynasty. How does it come about? What happens first of all? What's the first stage of the destruction?
The death of elderly people.
The death of the elders, right? And what happens with the death of the elders? After that?
The family tradition.
Family tradition stops. Family tradition stops.
Yeah, family tradition is given up. And what then? What?
Family becomes religion.
Yeah, they give up the family tradition and they take up irreligious habits. Right. And then, with irreligion, what happens?
Women become polluted.
The women become degraded and polluted, and when the women are degraded, then? Unwanted progeny. And then more results? What? Anything else after that?
Hellish life for both family and the destroyer of family.
Yes, hellish life. And then? What happens to the community projects and the family welfare?
All devastated.
Since elders in families are not there, so there is no proper education and training for the youngers. So they cannot take charge of the family matters.
So the community projects and the family traditions are all stopped. Yeah. So progressive steps leading towards destruction of the dynasty. Now Lord Krishna is going to respond to these different arguments in the 2nd chapter, also in the 3rd chapter. We will see arguments, how Lord Krishna, as the expert teacher, remember we've only been hearing from Arjuna so far. Lord Krishna hasn't begun speaking yet. So this is Arjuna giving his reasons why he doesn't want to fight. So when we go on with the second... When we go on with the 2nd chapter, then we will hear how Krishna responds to these different reasons for not fighting, how Krishna is able to defeat each and every one of the 4 reasons. Alright, then we discussed issues of Krishna inciting Arjuna to war, the issue of Krishna inciting Arjuna to war, preaching application. Krishna inciting Arjuna to war. Krishna is all-loving. And you gave very nice reasons why Krishna was inciting Arjuna to war. It was very nice how you responded. You had good reasons. Alright, then we spoke about Vaishnava integrity. We talked about women in general. Prabhupada said women in general not very intelligent. And certainly people who are not devotees, but if a woman is a devotee and surrendered to Krishna, she's the most intelligent lady. And we offer our respects to them. It would be inappropriate to consider that all women are not intelligent. So it's appropriate to understand who this statement applies to. It's not a general statement that can be applied to everyone. Alright, so for next week, we're going to go on to the 2nd chapter, and we'll begin, next week we'll go through the whole of the 2nd chapter, again like the 1st chapter. 1st chapter we did in 2 parts, 2nd chapter we'll also do in 2 parts. So you look over it. Saturday we'll do the 1st part, and Sunday we'll finish. Alright? And here's the final quote from Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Lord so that human society can be perfectly organized from all angles of vision, politically, socially, economically, philosophically, and religiously. From any point of view, human society can be reformed by the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada has very high hopes for our Krishna consciousness movement. He wants us to reform the whole world. We have a great responsibility. Okay, are there any questions or comments? Anybody? Okay, if there's nothing, then we'll leave you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.